started to make connections in South Africa. I found a motivated school in South Africa. I thought, wow, wouldn't it be interesting to actually go there to South Africa to do my research? And then I could really tell a great story. I did go to South Africa. I went all by myself, which I think was pretty brave of me. I had never really been to Africa before. I didn't know what to think. I had connected with the school there. I also would like to say that I did about 6 months of research. I wanted to learn, with running water, these villages have no running water. Well, why? You know, and how much would it cost for me to put running water into a school? So I did all of this homework before I went to Africa, just so I could have it in my notes, and it would eventually be in my children's book. And so I get to South Africa, and I meet up with the most charming school and school principal in the world. And this school, by the way, was already motivated before I got to them. They had no running water, but they had this most amazing food garden growing. And I asked, how could this be possible? And the principal told me the children were bringing dirty water from home to water the garden. And I thought, you know what? This is a school that I want to work with. This is a school that can make magic happen. So from that point on, I decided when I got to the school, I needed to do my research. So what I did was, I got the community together. And I said I needed a translator, and I had one there. The principal spoke English. And I said, you know, I want to see how these children are living. You know, the name of my organization is Hands on the World Global, and it's short for How Global. That's the type of person I am. I want to know how. What's the problem, and how can I fix it? That's who I am. So I said to the women of the community, I noticed it was the grandmas, the go-go's of the community, that were they were doing everything. They were fetching the water, they were fetching the wood. They were the heart and soul of the community. And I asked them, would you please show me where you're fetching water? Because I've always heard that children have to walk to fetch water, but I wanted to walk the walk with them. And I did. I walked the walk. And I thought it would be a straight path to maybe a lake or a stream, but it wasn't. We hiked about a mile up and down hills and into ravines, and I thought I would end up at a river to get a bucket of water. And instead, I ended up at a mud hole. And this is where the children were fetching their water. It was heartbreaking. I get choked up even now talking about it, because as we were fetching the water, there were snakes in the water, and also the water was filthy dirty, and there was a cow and some sheep drinking from the same water that these children were fetching from. So they were missing school time, they were fetching this water, and I was talking to them as we were walking, and I was learning a lot about them. At the end of that, I was only in Africa for 10 days, and that was the beginning of my journey. And I said to myself, you know, I do have some funding in my publishing account from my books. I used all the profits from my books and put it in an account. And I said to myself, do I want to publish a book and use that money to publish a book? Or right now, I have enough money to put a whole borehole in the ground. And so I did. And it's a kind of a long story, and it would take me a couple of hours, but in 10 days, I organized a team that I had been in contact with. They put running water into the ground. They drilled a borehole. I was in the mud with them as they drilled that borehole to make sure that every cent I was spending was going to be put to good use. And I did use every cent of my publishing money to put in that first borehole. It was an amazing experience. When water came out of that ground, it was the biggest celebration of a lifetime. It was like giving birth, and people walked from miles and miles to watch the drilling rig, and there were parades in the streets, and it was just such an amazing experience. I thought it would end there, but what I found out as a certified teacher and through my experiences with the communities was, my goodness, I have just found a perfect place to implement the Millennium Goals. I mean, yes, we started with water, but every educator, every government leader, they were all coming to meet me and shake my hand. I had a whole audience in front of me. I had the community, the grandmothers, everyone. What a perfect place to talk about HIV prevention. What a perfect place to hand out things like a life straw, a filter that can filter out all waterborne diseases and last a year. This is a place I can not only distribute things, but as I'm distributing, I can educate. So this is how I started my concept. Yes, we do need to change things. We do need to set a goal of 2015. But I ask you this, how are we going to get there? Do we have a business plan? Do we have any plan of how we're going to accomplish these things? I spent 1 year after that day that I'm telling you about implementing a plan and a strategy called the Green Community Hub. And Carisbrook School that I told you about became my first hub. I can tell you this, I could talk for an hour, but I am now working in 8 villages in South Africa and have put running water in 5. Each of those hubs is now a place where the Millennium Goals are taking place, and the 8th goal is global partnerships, and I'm bringing students now to these hubs to help study and help to develop and research plans. The mural that you see below was taken to an orphan village. The handprints were done here in the USA. Every time I tell my story, I ask for a handprint to be put on there by a child in the United States, as young as 5. I've traveled, 500 Girl Scouts have put their hands on there. And when I got to South Africa, I asked for the orphans of the school that I was at, 300. Would the orphans please step up and put their handprints on that mural? I expected out of 300 kids that maybe 5 would step up. 60 children out of one school stepped up, put their hands on that mural, and they are the handprints that are not colored in. So the empty handprints here and on the mural outside represent the orphans who need us the most. They're living without parents, but they're also living without food and water security. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. I do have a strategy. I'd love to expand it. I'm going to Haiti tomorrow to bring it there, and I hope to speak with many of you later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paulson. I think apart from sharing with us that strategy, it's also a sense that you really made us aware that each one of us are, in a sense, green hubs, and each one of us can be the center of the action we want to see. And also the mural, I think, if you noticed, it was very deftly put up by 2 very qualified physicians' hands, Dr. Falvo and Dr. Murthy, and slightly undone by 1 pair of bureaucratic hands, mine. So that is its own metaphor for all of you. Now, I'm not sure how we are time-wise, Joanne, because I know that you have a distinguished speaker who is supposed to come on at 11:40. So do we have an interactive session now, or would you rather have it later, or how do we do it?
I think we'll take 10 minutes for a quick Q&A.
Okay, right. So that is, we have 600 seconds, which I think we can, what I'd suggest is comments, questions, and we'll get a few of them, and then I'd ask each of our panelists to respond and elaborate upon them. So as they say, the floor is open. Yes, please.
Yes, hi, Dr. Paulson. Very impressive. I know you can't see me, but just very quickly, roughly how much did it cost to install the pipes in, like, per community? What is the dollar figure?
Okay, we'll hold that thought and just come back to that. Thank you for the dollar figure for the pipes in each community. Any other comments or questions? Sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry, please.
Future locations to build those pipes and implement those the running water in other countries. Where else are you looking?
Future locations, okay. Anything? I'm sorry, I've got 2 pillars here, so if there's anyone who's obscured, please forgive me. But, I mean, let's. Sorry, do you have a? Please.
Just if they'd like to speak about ways that people can get involved in the projects.
How people can get involved in the 3 projects that we. That's right. Thank you for the how it can be brought home to the audience here. Okay, let's begin with that. Let's begin with the specific questions for Dr. Paulson, and then we'll have a larger discussion how everyone can get involved. Please.
Yes. The question is a little bit complicated because to put a borehole in the ground could cost anywhere from $4,000